Hey, it's Tom here again. Welcome to part 2 of Psych.Club. It's actually been a few months. It was back in around the 20th or 21st of May I did my first episode, and a lot of things have happened since. So, yeah, welcome to Psych.Club. Change your belief and your reality one belief process at a time. If you wanted to know more about that, get in touch. But I wanted to get into the meat and the bones of today's message, and it's following on from my last message when I was speaking about President Donald J. Trump and Ivanka Trump and Space Force and Q and the number 17, and friends and relatives will know I've been talking about this quite a lot with them, but I've come across and been blessed to find some more insights around the whole topic, so I wanted to share some of those insights with you. Today is, well, it's the 4th of August, Tuesday the 4th of August if you're in America. I'm actually filming here in London, so technically it's now become the 5th of August. I wanted to share on the 4th, but the 5th is very important as well. So depending where you are in the world will depend on when you receive it or when it's being recorded in your time zone. And time and space is a big concept right now. I don't know how many of you are experiencing a shift in your reality, in your consciousness. Maybe you're noticing synchronicities happening more often and more frequently. I know I am, and it's a joy to behold and to witness. And those things are happening kind of in 4 areas. So I study online. I also tune into the president's tweets and his messages most days. I also have a really close group of friends that are kind of like-minded peers in this area that I've been introduced to since my first video. So my first video was almost like a rite of passage, a baptism, an initiation, in all good senses of the word. And also just in my own reality, in my own world, I'm able to go outside and I see and notice things. The nickname in my group is Numbers, which is quite fitting. So I see numbers, I see letters, I see pictures, I remember songs, I remember movie clips, popular culture, general knowledge, science, chemistry, physics, the natural world. All these areas are places where I'm able to find signs, if you want to call them. Well, I'm going to call them signs, but pieces of serendipity and synchronicity that maybe people out there you've experienced yourself. Coincidences, those sorts of things I've noticed is increasing a lot right now as we're moving into this wonderful period of the Great Awakening, the Great Transition, the transition to greatness as approaches as President Donald Trump shares and has expressed. That's one of the ways he's described this process, this change, and it literally really is. It's a transition to greatness, and he's doing it in a very gentle, but also strong and firm and a direct way and a glorious way. And some of the things I just wanted to express and share, things I've discovered, is the significance of the number 88. And 88, I knew was a strong number. I knew 8 was a strong number. Last message I recorded, I talked a lot about 17 and Q. So the Q movement, Trump's military intelligence, followed by QAnons, those that want to learn out in the world online. It's now becoming mainstream. The BBC put some things out on it about a week or so ago. And in case people missed it, they repeated it, which is nice of them. So the number 88, okay, so just some of you might be aware of this, some of you maybe not, maybe the majority might not be, so I just wanted to share some clarity and some insight. Okay, so if we go through the alphabet, like I spoke about before, Q is the number 17, it's the 17th letter of the alphabet. But if we start off at the beginning, so the letter A is 1, equals the first letter. The letter B equals 2, so it's the second letter. The letter C equals the third letter. The letter D equals the fourth letter, and so on and so on. Okay, so pop quiz. What does the word Trump add up to? Okay, I'm going to give you a few seconds. You might be able to, one of the ways that you can actually do it is work it out on your calculator, or maybe get an abacus. My friend Jack Kidd has nicknamed the abacus as well. Him and Greg, Joseph Gregory Hallett, King John III, they named me together as numbers, and it's quite interesting because if I'm not mistaken, I think one of the titles that Greg goes by is Kronos, and that comes out to 92. And I met with Jack and Greg and a whole bunch of others and the Squirrel team a few weeks ago now. A great evening, and as we were leaving the next day, Kronos, Greg pronounced me numbers, and this came to me maybe a week or two ago. I realised that actually when Kronos, who adds up to 92, he pronounced me numbers, and numbers adds up to 92, so Kronos was being pronounced numbers by numbers, or numbers was pronounced Kronos, you know what I'm saying, Greg? So yeah, so I was pronounced I was pronounced numbers by Kronos, and they add up to the same numerical value. So that was fun, and it's an empowering name, and I welcome it, and thanks Jack and Greg for giving that to me. So if you add up the word Trump, you should have had time now to work that out, or as I was adding a little bit of background to things. Anyway, so T equals 20, R equals 18, U equals 21, M in this instance equals 13, and P equals 16. If you add all of those numbers together, you come up with the number 88. Okay, so Trump is the number 88. The reason the number 88 is so significant and so powerful is because it's the infinity number. So it's a double loop. Okay, it doesn't start and there's no end and no beginning to it. It's eternal. It's also the Chinese number for wealth. It's also a number associated with regrowth and resurrection and a host of other things. So it's a very, very powerful number, and it's what we're going into right now at this very moment. So just remember that Trump equals 88. Okay, I'm going to let you into another little secret. Okay, I'm going to predict that on the 8th of August, which is 8/8, Trump's clock, Trump's timer, is his Twitter page. Okay, right now it's around, actually I haven't checked it for a day or two, but it's about 80, I think it's 84.5, or has it gone up to 85? Anyway, give or take a million, million and a half or whatever, two and a half, maybe 3.5 million. That is going to go to 88 million by this Saturday, okay? Because 8888 is a super powerful set of numbers. It's a reflection, okay? I'm going to talk a little bit more about this. So bear in mind the base point for all of this, Trump is 88, okay? He's other numbers as well, such as 45, he's the 45th president. He's also 46, because that's the year of his birth. So he was born in 1946. Trump is also 20 because of the T. So T is for T equals 20. Happens to be my first name, Tom. So T. And going back to T and 20, it's also linked to another number. So if you, on the 24-hour clock, the number 20, what does it represent? Okay, 8 p.m. So it represents 8. So the number 8 and the number 20 are simultaneously interchangeable based on the 24-hour and the 12-hour clock. Okay, or the 24-hour clock, the military clock. Okay, so that means 2020 is also synonymous with 8/8. Are we seeing a pattern here? Okay, so Trump, his name Trump is 88. We are in the year of 2020. 2020, clear vision. Okay. Incidentally, my last name is Bushnell, and that's sponsored. They make great sight finders and telescopes. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the telescope later in Back to the Future. But anyway, that's I wanted to add that part. So 2020, we're going into August. Well, we're in August. We've gone from July, we've gone from Cancer into Leo, okay, the lion, and we're now in August. And August is the 8th month. It used to be the 6th month, so around the time of Julius Caesar or Caesar Augustus it was changed, and it was 2 months earlier, so it would have been the 6th month. But now it's the 8th month, and it has been for, I don't know, I guess the best part of a couple of thousand years around, give or take a few, maybe 100 or 200, I can't remember the exact dates, but it's been a while. Okay, so you've seen another pattern. August the 8th of August. If you break down the word, so Saturday, which is this Saturday, August the 8th, the abbreviation for Saturday, which is around Saturn Day, that's where that came from, is SAT. So if you add SAT, S is 19, A is 1, that's 20, T is 20. So that's 2020, that's 40 in total, or 2020. Break it down, 2020, clear vision, we're in the year of 2020. Or you can change that to the 12-hour clock, from 24-hour clock, it's 2020, which converts to 8/8. Again, are we seeing a pattern here? Okay, this has been planned forever, okay? I would say since the beginning of time of mankind. And Trump, bless him, and his family have been chosen to bring this about. And even in religious texts in the Bible and other scriptures of other Christian religions, the Trump is referred to as ushering in the millennium, the 1,000 year of peace, the age of Aquarius, peace on earth, all of those things. Trump, in his inaugural address on the 2017, January the 20th, he said we're entering a new millennial, the birth of a new millennium. He actually said the birth of a Lu millennium. Think of the word Lu, what that means. Replacing bad things with old. The transition to greatness. He did a wonderful wordplay. If you listen to the president, he's actually the president of the earth now. He's the president of the US, but he's also in control and in charge of the planet. And I would also say it first here. He's actually he's president of the universe, because Earth is the focal point for all these things to happen. So God bless Donald Trump and his family. He's been chosen because of who he is as a being of consciousness and of light and of courage and of strength and goodness. He's the golden lion. He's Aslan from the Chronicles of Narnia. Aslan was muzzled just for a brief moment. POTUS did that masking just for a few moments, just to show there were some other things in there he was illustrating. But Aslan came good, and Trump is good, and we're heading into a wonderful victory, something bigger than we can all possibly imagine. Some other things around the 8/8, okay? If anyone's in any doubt that they're just saying, oh, this is just, does that mean anything? Is it a coincidence? Okay. We're all parts of consciousness. We're all one. That's one of the things I think is going to come out of this. Once we get to the other side of this, the masks are gone. We're going to realize that actually who we are, the faces, the identities we have, in a good way, are partly masks. So my face is a mask. Everyone else, all of you listening and watching, your face is a mask, but it's a beautiful mask. But also when you're able to think beyond that, you realize that we're all the same. I could be you, you could be me. We're interchangeable. And there's some of the truths that we're going to know as we're going into this millennial period. The thing about the millennium as well, I know some people won't like me saying it, but it's just reality, it's just truth. Trump, people were thinking, well, how can he be the one ushering the millennium? That doesn't add up. It does when you do the research and look into it and have an open heart and a meek, a strong and a pure heart. You'll sense it. You'll realise it. But me included, a year or so ago, well, before that, basically before lockdown, I didn't understand that this was going to be the case, but it is. He's the one that's been chosen to do this, and he's getting help in this realm, but also above as well. Nothing can stop what's coming. So going back to the numbers of 8/8, Trump was born on the 14th of June 1946. So I've already mentioned 46, but 1946. So 19, 1 and 9 added together comes to 10. 4 and 6 of 46. 4 plus 6 comes to 10. That's 20. That's one set of 20. The 6th month, June in this case, and the 14th day, so 6 plus 14 comes to 20. We have another two sets of 20. Okay? 8 plus 8. Trump was born 2020, 8/8. Okay? Everywhere about Trump is 8/8. He's also 7/7 and 7/7/7, and also other numbers. 4, D for Donald, Delta, etc. 2/2 is 4. 2/2 is a very important date on the 22nd of July. So it's the 21st, it was an end and a beginning of something. Okay. Also, something to remember is does anyone know what Donald Trump's father's middle name was, or is, or was? His full name was Frederick Christ Trump, and his mother was Mary. Are we seeing a pattern here, people? Trump's grandparents had Christ in their name, and also his great-grandparents. It goes back 3 generations. He's the 4th one. His middle name is John. John is a very significant name in biblical and scriptural rules of thought and theology. Anyone a fan of the Bolt, Usain Bolt? Someone I got the privilege to meet at in 2020. Sports fans and probably people in general will realise and remember that Usain Bolt won 8 gold medals in his Olympic career. He actually won 9, but one of them was taken back because of the relay. And 9 is a very strong number as well, Tesla number, which takes us beyond 8/8 where we're going. But Usain Bolt won 8 gold medals. So there's a correlation between Trump and Usain Bolt. There's a very famous advert by Virgin Media, who incidentally, their symbol is an 8. It's an infinity sign. Okay. There's an advert. You can look it up on YouTube. Basically, if you type in 9.58 seconds, Usain Bolt will come up. It's his advert. The narrator of that advert is Michael Johnson, the 200 and 400 meter gold medalist. I actually got to meet Michael 2.5, maybe 3 years ago at an event in London. It's interesting how some of these people I've met along the timelines. One of the phrases in that advert is how everything in your life will start to make sense, and many things in my life are beginning to really make sense now. I'm understanding why I was in certain places at certain times, and I think some of you out there will be resonating with this. You'll start to be realising certain things in your life has made sense now, particularly in the last 3 or 4 months during this lockdown. I like to call it lockdown. We've been in lockdown, but it's awakening. The age of Aquarius, the Great Awakening, lockdown. We're waking up. People are waking up. Another thing, talking about waking up, the word alarm, so alarm clock, alarm is actually adds up to 45. So Trump is the great alarm. He's waking everybody up, along with the help of his great administration. Those that we see and those that we don't see yet. So, going back to Usain Bolt, he won 8 gold medals. In this video, you hear the commentary from Michael Johnson, and it's a great video to watch. It's fun. It's well done. It's really well done. So with Bolt, 8 gold medals. The time he got the world record, his world record winning time, and Trump's into records all the time, as you'll notice in his press conferences, was 9.58 seconds. Okay, so 9.5. Okay, 9.5. Or 9 times 5 equals 45, which is a reference to Trump, the 45th president. Then you're left with the remaining 8 of the 0.8. So 8.8 seconds added to the other 8 gold medals comes to 88. Okay, you've seen the crossover, the parallel here. For those that are still thinking, well, that, what does that really mean? I'm going to add a bit more depth to this. So you'll see that it triangulates, maybe quadrangulates into 3 to 4 pieces that all draw together. So we now establish the correlation. 9 times 5 is 45. That's Trump. That's Bolt's beginning of his world record. 0.8 plus 8 gold medals. So 8 and 8 is 88. Okay. Okay. What country does Usain Bolt run for? Jamaica. Okay. So he was born in Jamaica. Where was Donald Trump born? Okay, he was born in New York, in Queens, in the Jamaican hospital. Jamaica Hospital in Queens, that's where he was born. So he was born in the same place, Jamaica, as Usain Bolt. The reason the Bolt is so important is that ties into the element of time travel. How all of this is being done. That's what the Back to the Future movies are based around. And if you add up the word Usain, U-S-A-I-N, that adds up to 64. So 64 is 8 times 8. Okay, we're seeing a pattern here. All right. So the bolt, the lightning bolt. The bolt of lightning is the thing that triggers, or is the catalyst, when the car hits 88 miles per hour in Back to the Future and it changes. That's what makes time travel possible. Okay. So that's what we're seeing. And coincidentally, here in England, I don't know what it's like in the rest of the world, but I'd assume it's quite the same. Cinemas have opened up just about half a week ago. Well, Friday, I think it was. Guess what the film series are? They're not really showing any new films. There's maybe 1 or 2 that were probably delayed and they've come out, smaller films. Can't even remember the name of them. One with Russell Crowe and someone else. But the main fillers that they put on is the whole Back to the Future trilogy, the 3 films, and also the Christopher Nolan Dark Knight Batman films. Because I'm going to talk about this a bit later, but Trump is Batman. He's also Bruce Wayne, and also JFK Jr. is also Bruce Wayne. And he's also our Robin. Okay, so they've been put out for a reason. They want us, the public, to watch them. Also, Interstellar has been put out, and also Empire Strikes Back has been put out. So these are the films we can go and watch. I went and watched Back to the Future a few days ago. I watched the whole trilogy again, and I would encourage anyone that's listening to this to go and watch and to listen to Back to the Future. And watch Back to the Future. It's the playbook of what's happened, of what is happening, and what is about to happen. The other thing with the month of August is the chemical symbol for gold. Does anyone know that? Yeah, it's AU. Okay, so A plus U equals 1 plus 21, 22. 22 was a very significant time when all of things started to change, beginning of this process for Nasara. Nasara Jasara has been going on with the debt forgiveness in terms of the transition of the SWIFT, the stopping of the SWIFT system, the financial system, over into the quantum financial system, the new one that is controlled by Trump and the Alliance and the White Hats and Tesla and alien technology, etc., where we're going into the next realm. That started on the 22nd of July. Trump did a great press conference before this announcement. They did a soft announcement. There were a few things online, a few key players tweeted about it. But the way that this has been orchestrated, like we're told we're watching a movie. Steve Mnuchin, Trump's Secretary of the Treasury, one of the brains behind the scenes, he used to be a film director. So we literally are watching a film, but we're watching a 4-dimension go into a 5-dimensional film. That's why those people have got their ability to see things. Their third eye is open, their heart's open. The third eye represents, in some mythology, the unicorn. So unicorn, that's why you can see things that are beyond just, the day-to-day stuff. The intuition, the heart, the pineal gland. That's all to do with the unicorn and the third eye. And that's why this is becoming a 4-dimensional stroke 5-dimensional movie that we're in. A bit like Pokemon Go, reality. In reality, Pokemon Go, that's what's happening with me, and I'm sure it's happening with thousands of others and maybe millions of others around the globe, where you're seeing and picking things up and everything is making sense, like the Usain Bolt advert says. So, where was I? I need to backtrack. We spoke about Jamaica. Oh, the Batman films, yeah. So Trump is Batman as well. But the Back to the Future films is a playbook of what's happening. There's so many things in there that I noticed. They're bombarding you with numbers. When you go in and you see the times, it starts off with all these clocks ticking, because that's what we're on. We're actually on a timer. We're on a galactic timer that has been put in. This was set eons ago, and we're coming to the big one. And I still can't really believe that we're getting here, but we are. And it's mind-boggling. The whole thing is mind-boggling, but just glorious and benign. It's kind. It's benevolent. It's amazing. It's Christ consciousness coming to the surface again, and the return of goodness. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful time. So Back to the Future. Some of the things in there. Marty's name adds up to 77, so he's angelic. He's God. He's a divine number. Emmett adds up to 88. So two E's, 2 M's, and 2 T's. So that's 10. That's 26. That's 30. Emmett. I added it the other day. I'll have to do it on calculator again while we're talking, but I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Emmett adds up to 88. Jennifer adds up to, I think it's 64 or it's 88, but she's got an 8 in her number, in her added in her addition of her name. There's many things in there. So one of the things I noticed in Back to the Future 2 was when Marty first goes into the future, and it's a big famous scene where he looks up and he sees Jaws 19, and it's a big hologram, comes down and it pretends to scare him, and he ducks and realizes it's a hologram, and it's just an illusion. Now, one of the characters that's been in this is Fauci. This whole scandemic was Fauci. Trump's got him under control now, but time will see that Fauci, if you don't already understand, he was part of all of this nastiness, and he was selling us bullshit on the internet. On the internet, but also on television, and in the press. And now he's being made to trip himself up in the court appearances, etc. But the word Fauci in Italian, guess what it means? It means Jaws. So Jaws, and what number of the film was it? Jaws, episode 19. Fauci 19. COVID-19. That was in Back to the Future too. Trump has been talking about the Sandman, the Metallica song, Enter the Sandman. Now, for some unknown reason, well, I understand now why, but I've been rebounding on my trampoline I have here in my flat, in my apartment, and most days I would put on Enter the Sandman, the Moscow live concert version. There's something about that really revved me up, but then I realised a little later that Trump had referred to that quite a few months ago, but he also referred to the Sandman by Metallica recently, which then made me think, oh, I've been jumping on my trampoline, which incidentally is made by a company called Bellicon, or Bell Icon, the iconic bell, and we'll talk about the bells a bit later. So it's the Sandman. Trump has been referring to that, and work out the lettering and addition on Sandman. That's an interesting one. But also, what triggered me a few days ago, and I noticed it again yesterday when I rewatched Back to the Future Part 1, is Marty's in the town square in front of the courthouse with the clock that's frozen in time. One of the songs that's playing is Mr. Sandman, which is by a group back in the 50s, or maybe earlier, but it's in the 1955 period when Marty's back there, and it's by the band called the Four Aces. So the Four Aces are the four aces of the deck of cards. I referred to in my first video. I talked about how Trump said in his press conference from the Oval Office when they did a piece around the Space Force flag. He started off by saying they've been doing something in spades, which made me think of the Ace of Spades, which is the top card. It's the trump card of the deck. And he's been telling people recently to remember the Sandman. So there's the Metallica one, but there's also the Four Aces from the Back to the Future films. And incidentally, he was marking the occasion with a baseball veteran, a retired baseball star, and this baseball star's number was 42. 42 is the reverse of 24, so that has a direct reflection to turning back time. And Trump's telling people about this through his press conferences, and we've been given the opportunity to go and watch Back to the Future at the cinemas. There's many other things and pieces within it. Another thing that happens in Back to the Future 3 is Clara, who's Emmett's girlfriend, his love interest. And there's a piece where they're talking about Jules Verne. So Jules Verne wrote 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. And you think of leagues, and you think of measurements of water, of depth, of a lot of water. One of the measurements in horse racing as well, I think, ties into that is furlong, and that got me thinking of the word furlough. None of us had ever heard of the word furlough, really, or hardly anyone. I hadn't heard of it before all this started. But Clara, who I think of Clarity, or Clarence, Clara, Clarity, Clarence, they're the things that come to mind when I think of her. She's talking to Emmett, Doc Brown, the doc, and she says, she just starts to, they're under the stars, they've been looking at a telescope, she's got a telescope that he's fixing, so hence Bushnell telescope, etc. is all coming to be. Also, if you look at the Bushnell logo for telescopes, their logo for B looks very similar to the black ball, the black number 8 ball in pool. So the 8 ball just looks as a nice mirror. It looks very similar. And 2 is the letter B, 2020, except so you can see where my thoughts are going with this. But anyway, going back to Clara with Emmett, she just brings it up in the conversation in the script and says, oh, when I was 11 years old, I used to have a theory that I would have to go into, or I would be quarantined for 3 months. My jaw nearly dropped when I saw that, because I've seen the film before, and obviously this side of quarantine, it makes sense. That totally went past me years ago when I last saw the film. There's a whole bunch of other things as well in the film. I would encourage you to look at the trilogy if you're able to. The Batman series by Christopher Nolan. I've been thinking for a long time that Christopher Nolan is a white hat film director, and I stand by that completely. It's no coincidence to me that his films have been put out into the cinema this week before we get to this weekend. I've been saying for a while in my group that, before I forget, going back to the Future, the 2 main characters, okay, there's Marty McFly and Doc Brown, Emmett Brown. One of the guys in my group is Jack Kidd, and he's Scottish. He's Jack Kidd, but he's Aitken, of the family Aitken. So I always call him Aitken. I call him Jack as well, but I call him Aitken. And so when you watch Back to the Future films, there's 13 times when Doc Brown will shout out, "Great Scott!" And that always makes me think of Jack. And there's also a couple of points where he refers to Marty as Kid, because he's a young guy. He refers to him as Kid, and then a few moments later he'll just exclaim, "Great Scott!" So Jack Kidd, Great Scott, you get in the connection. And also Charlie Ward, Dr. Charlie Ward, who was a big part in how I found my group. He does the interviews on his show, and he's a doc. So when you think of when I see that, I think of Charlie and I think of Jack. And also in part 1 of the film, so I get a mention. I'm quite happy about that. He refers to Thomas Edison, and Thomas Red is one of the guys on the he's being voted. He's the mayor in 1955. So, but then there's some other guys in our group. Greg, who I've already mentioned, King John III, and there's a guy called Craig who we haven't heard from for a while, but he's in it. And Dave. So Dave, Jimmy Olsen, who's played Jimmy Olsen in the Superman films, he gets a mention he's at the end of the film, and Linda, who's Marty's sister, played by Michael J. Fox, refers to Jimmy Olsen, who's Dave, who is the brother of Linda and of Marty, and they're talking, and she says, "Oh, well, you got a phone call from Greg or from Craig?" And he's like, "Well, which was it? Was it Greg or Craig?" And she's not sure. But anyway, so there's a few in our group that are getting kind of little mentions in the film, and there may well be some other Gregs and Toms and Jacks and Kids and Great Scotts and Daves and others out there. And also in Back to the Future 3, the Squirrels, the main group, get a mention. So I'm just shout out to the Squirrels. But there's so many things in the film, so I wanted to mention that. Going back to the Batman films. So Batman, Bruce Wayne. Think of this in the COVID narrative, okay? So the Dark Knight film starts off with young Bruce Wayne, whose father is incidentally Thomas, okay, and Martha, I believe it's Martha, and also like Martha Kent in the Superman film, so you're seeing the parallel with the DC characters, the District of Columbia characters. Okay, so he has to confront his fear of bats. Now the whole thing with the Wuhan virus, that was all to do with around this nonsense narrative of bats. Okay, so it starts there. Batman overcomes his fear of the bat and becomes the symbol of the bats, the Batman. Trump has also done a press conference where he's he's at the White House and he's got a baseball bat and he's like swinging. So he is the Batman, and he knows he's the Batman. He wants to let us know that he's the Batman as well. Also, another giveaway that Trump is the Batman is when Christian Bale speaks as Batman, which he doesn't do too much, but when he does this. So he's got the mask on, but then he goes, who'll speak like that? Who else speaks like that? Trump. Trump always does that with his lips. So Christian Bale's Batman and Trump are the same. That's the character that. And also Trump is Bruce Wayne because he's the billionaire playboy. There's Wayne Tower, which is Trump Tower. Also, interestingly enough, is one of the symbols for the Shin, which is 21, is the W that's on the Wayne, on the Wayne Tower. That ties into the secret of the Shin and Greg Hallett's background, and he'll talk. You can look up some of the videos on that. So there's some nice cross parallels of timelines and information going on.